Welcome to Howard Brown Online Barber College. Today we will do the review questions from Basic Methods of Teaching and Learning. The art of imparting knowledge or instruction by precept, example, or experience is the realm of the lawyer, teacher, nurse, nutritionist. If you chose B, teacher, you are correct. To increase learners' understanding of the material presented, they must take action on the material, see the material, hear the material, listen to music while the material is presented. If you chose A, take action on the material, you are correct. The essential steps in learning are desire, information, assimilation, and repetition, desire, information, intelligence, and repetition, desire, information, assimilation, and interest, desire, affirmation, assimilation, and repetition. If you chose A, desire, information, assimilation, and repetition, you are correct. The manner in which educators use the materials and resources available to them to produce or achieve the desired objectives and facilitate learning for all students is termed as presentation, teaching method, learning objective, teaching standard. If you chose B, teaching method, you are correct. In order for the learner to receive the information, the teaching methods must be appropriate for the lesson, appropriate for the type and age of the learner, varied within the class, all of the above. If you chose D, all of the above, you are correct. A discourse or formal presentation conveying information, explaining facts, or describing procedures is called a demonstration, lecture, illustrated talk, none of the above. If you chose B, lecture, you are correct. When delivering a lesson in the lecture mode, be brief. Keep it lengthy. The duration is of no consequence. All of the above. If you chose A, be brief, you are correct. The demonstration method is used to break the monotony of the classroom, show off the educator's skills, illustrate correct procedures, none of the above. If you chose C, illustrate correct procedures, you are correct. When giving an interactive lecture, the master educator will incorporate a closing for the presentation that has a high impact on the learners, stand in front of the class, and look at the board while lecturing. Direct the students to read aloud from their textbook. Give the students time to answer workbook questions. If you chose C, direct the students to read aloud from their textbook, you are correct. Identifying the objectives of the lesson, motivating the students, gathering materials and tools ahead of time, and ensuring that students have unobstructed views is part of the lesson preparation, opening, questioning, closure. If you chose A, preparation, you are correct. During a demonstration, the master educator will perform the procedure with full speed ahead to show students how it will be done in the clinic or work environment, extremely slowly, at an appropriate speed that ensures students do not miss key steps, along with a video presentation. If you chose C, at an appropriate speed that ensures students do not miss key steps, you are correct. Master educators will react to nonverbal clues of disinterest by stopping the lesson and calling attention to the student's inappropriateness, stopping the lesson and assigning workbook activities, varying the stimuli by changing the activity, or starting a different lesson. If you chose C, varying the stimuli by changing the activity, you are correct. Passing objects during a demonstration will enhance learning, allow the student to see the object up close, allow students to feel the object, detract the learners from important steps in the demonstration. If you chose D, detract the learners from important steps in the demonstration, you are correct. Providing the opportunity for learners to practice the skill demonstration soon after its presentation is termed clinic, application, practice, both B and C. If you chose D, both B and C, you are correct. To ensure that a learner's practice makes procedures permanent, the master educator will give assistance, closely supervise student practice, give immediate feedback, all of the above. If you chose D, all of the above, you are correct. Group discussion and discovery is extremely advantageous because it lacks immediate feedback, encourages social interaction, requires a high degree of learner participation, both B and C. If you chose D, both B and C, you are correct. To ensure the best results in group discussion and discovery, require that opinions and statements brought forth by the learners be supported by facts. Allow for differences of opinions among learners. Avoid interrupting learners and groups when at work. All of the above. If you chose D, all of the above, you are correct. Role play is an effective way for learners to observe other students at play, a comedy in the classroom, how various conflict situations should be handled, the educator dealing with conflict. If you chose C, how various conflict situations should be handled, you are correct. During role play, those observing should be working in workbooks, analyzing the enactment and taking notes for discussion, studying for upcoming tests, watching the role play only. If you chose B, analyzing the enactment and taking notes for discussion, you are correct. When using role play as a teaching method, use learners' personal problems. It is not necessary to plan ahead. It is not necessary to have students volunteer. Select situations that will not embarrass any of the learners. If you chose D, select situations that will not embarrass any of the learners, you are correct. The learner should leave the role play experience feeling that there is only one way to solve a conflict, that there is likely more than one solution to any conflict, discouraged about handling conflicts, that role play is a waste of time. If you chose B, that there is likely more than one solution to any conflict, you are correct. The technique of hand sketching visual images into the squares of a matrix is called mind mapping, sequencing blocks, window painting, brick patterns. If you chose C, window painting, you are correct. Because research states that the memory can retain only certain bits of information, window painting contains 6 panes, 8 panes, 7 panes, 9 panes. If you chose D, 9 panes, you are correct. The master educator sees field trips as being important to the learner's self-discovery, active learning, career path, all of the above. If you chose D, all of the above, you are correct. After the scheduled field trip and an organized review of the student's observations, the master educator will tie those observations to the stated objectives identified for the field trip. Listen attentively. Take notes for distribution at a later time. Commend students for being observant and cooperative. If you chose A, tie those observations to the stated objectives identified for the field trip. You are correct. Having a preliminary meeting with a guest speaker is recommended so that you can meet and greet the speaker. You can write what you want the speaker to say. You can lay the ground rules for the presentation. None of the above. If you chose C, you can lay the ground rules for the presentation. You are correct. While the guest speaker is presenting to the learners, it is the perfect opportunity for the master educator to catch up on paperwork, take a short break, work on the supply room. None of the above. If you chose D, none of the above, you are correct. It may be necessary for the master educator to assist the guest speaker in: is it getting learners involved, taking control of the class, presentation tips, all of the above. If you chose D, all of the above, you are correct. Mind mapping is a significant method of learning for the musical learner, verbal learner, visual learner, linguistic learner. If you chose C, visual learner, you are correct. Mind mapping can be more effective than using workbooks, outlining chapters, using textbooks, crossword puzzles. If you chose C, using textbooks, you are correct. Mind mapping is difficult to learn, is complicated to learn and takes hours of time, needs the input of more than one student, is easy to learn and may be organized in a matter of minutes. If you chose D, is easy to learn and may be organized in a matter of minutes, you are correct. By depicting images or pictures throughout the mind map, it creates a cartoon for the learner, aids in recall, stimulates both sides of the brain, both B and C. If you chose D, both B and C, you are correct. Individualized feedback can be received on a regular basis by using testing, peer coaching, student interaction, computer software. If you chose B, peer coaching, you are correct. Projects have their place in the educational arena And they can be very effective in, is it filling the time, making the students look busy, the use of arts and crafts, developing problem-solving skills. If you chose D, developing problem-solving skills, you are correct. To be effective, workbook assignments should be completely filled in, follow the lesson or text material being covered, not be used for all learner types. None of the above. If you chose B, follow the lesson or text material being covered, you are correct. Case studies should be directly related to conflicts in the class, the female gender, the male gender, objectives of the lesson. If you chose D, objectives of the lesson, you are correct. When developing questions for the case studies, the most difficult question should be placed, is it first, second, in the middle, last? If you chose C, in the middle, you are correct. There are two types of case studies. One presents only the problem and the other presents the problem with one possible solution to the problem, presents the problem with two possible solutions to the problem, presents the problem with three possible solutions to the problem, presents the problem with four possible solutions to the problem. If you chose A, presents the problem with one possible solution to the problem, you are correct. Provide a link between the student's skill and the information being taught is a method termed bridging, linking, dovetailing, concept connectors. If you chose D, concept connectors, you are correct. Providing links with the learner's past experiences and the objective of the lesson being taught is called bridging the gap, concept connectors, linking, chain linking. If you chose B, concept connectors, you are correct. The process whereby the mind forms a mental image of the one performing the objectives of the lesson is termed imagination, dreaming, visualization, mind wandering. If you chose C, visualization, you are correct. Students remain focused on the lesson when educators enhance the lesson with meaningful periodical, personal anecdotes, lectures, notes, handouts. If you chose A, periodical personal anecdotes, you are correct. Songs, words, or phrase associations that will trigger the recall of key information are called acronyms, mnemonics, alphabetisms, synonyms. If you chose B, mnemonics, you are correct. When there is a sag during a class of heavy content material, the master educator will use Energizers, workbook activities, fill-in-the-blank worksheets, none of the above. If you chose A, Energizers, you are correct. Energizers are brief activities that take 1 to 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, 7 to 9 minutes. If you chose A, 1 to 3 minutes, you are correct. Experimentation is a great way to reach intuitive learners, shy learners, introverted learners, all of the above. If you chose A, intuitive learners, you are correct. Master educators should incorporate humor into the presentations constantly to make a point, only when planned, both A and C. If you chose B, to make a point, you are correct. Humor used in the classroom must be sarcastic and bold, have nothing to do with the presentation, be relevant and fit naturally and logically into the presentation, have a punchline that incorporates politics. If you chose C, be relevant and fit naturally and logically into the presentation, you are correct. To maximize participation of all group members, the master educator will limit groups to 5 members, 6, 7, 8 members. If you chose C, 7 members, you are correct. The master educator will only take over the group discussions when there is a question, the material seems confusing, students are at a roadblock, none of the above. If you chose D, none of the above, you are correct. This concludes the review questions. If you'd like information on classes that we have available at Howard Brown Online Barber College, visit our website at howardbrownonline.com. Remember that barbering starts in the book. Have a great day.